You're watching Amador County's local television network, TSPN. And now, TSPN's Amador This Week's Out and About.
Good morning, everyone. We're here this morning for our annual pre-fair walk-around, the 75th anniversary of the Amador County Fair. With me this morning is Jamie Lebanko, one of our directors. Good morning, Jamie.
Good morning.
And, of course, Troy Bowers, our CEO, who makes all this happen with his wonderful staff. We're going to take you through a few venues that are going to happen at the fair, a couple different areas. We're starting here at the entry gates, where hopefully all of you will come and enjoy this year's 75th celebration for the Amador County Fair. Let's go inside.
Just as soon as you come through the front gate of our Amador County Fair, you're greeted with one of the favorite things of, I think our whole community just loves the flowers. It's a midway filled with beautiful flowers. There's so many people that work so hard on it, and they really are. They set the stage for all the wonderful things that we get to enjoy here at the fair.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody always comments about the flowers, and I think that's one of the things that people look forward to. Right when you walk in, that visual that hits you right away as you're looking down the midway, and those beautiful flowers just bursting with colors.
I think that's one of the unique things about our fair too, Troy, is this midway atmosphere that we have here.
It really is spectacular, and it was designed that way by Gula way back in the early 60s. She had the idea to, when you walk through that gate, that you have this new experience laid out in front of you. And I have seen so many people who walk through those gates and just literally take a step back and try to absorb everything there. The thousands of flowers, just the whole experience that's right here at this fair. It's really unique.
Zinnias. If you're watching at home and you're wondering, what are all those beautiful flowers I always see at the fair? Mostly zinnias, and there's actually a zinnia mix called the State Fair Mix you can buy at your local nursery.
Yeah, it's really spectacular. You can see all the different colors. Over 3,000 flowers hand-planted each year, tended by Nancy and Katie, and many volunteers. People just come out here and deadhead the flowers and pull weeds. You know, this part of being in Amador County, they have their little project out here. They come out and help us sparkle.
I'm going to tell a quick story. I've been working on the 75th anniversary exhibit, and I know that the flowers and trees have been an important part of this fair since its very beginning, and they had no trees to begin with. So they sent crews, I think there were some Greelitz brothers involved, up into the woods, and they actually got trees, dug holes, brought those trees down, and stuck them in the ground here for that first fair so that there would be trees around their main tent.
That's a wonderful story. I'd never heard that story before. Thank you. Such knowledge.
I don't know about that, but I thought it was a fun story, but I couldn't imagine how stable those trees were. I was hoping no one leaned on them. Let's go take a look at the main exhibit hall.
Let's go.
So the main exhibit hall, actually one of the largest buildings here on the grounds, and it houses all the wonderful community booths inside. So the city of Sutter Creek, Jackson, Plymouth, actually is a very competitive booth thing because they get judged for that, right?
Yeah, they all get judged, and I always love that competition, you know. The little different communities of different cities that make up the county feel a sense of pride in their community, and this is an opportunity for them to kind of shine a little bit. And so it's always a fun competition, always a great building to walk through, get out of the sun a little bit, stroll through, and it has our wine in there also. That'll have all your wine winners from the wine competitions and stuff. Matter of fact, the window that they're looking at right now, I think it's either that one or the one to the right that will have all the wine. Isn't that right, Troy?
I think that's the City of Plymouth's exhibit right there on the left that they're working on. This building is really kind of fun. When you go back to the original purpose of county fairs, one of those, of course, was to introduce new products into the community and test the marketplace. So when you go in there, you'll see the latest slicer and dicers, the whole house fans. A lot of community businesses are showcasing their offerings there for people to come in and hopefully take advantage of.
Yeah, the main exhibit hall is where you can see all those beautiful community booths, which are really special. They're like the county exhibits at the State Fair, just on a smaller scale here. But my favorite part is fudge. I think this is the building where you find fudge, jerky, and maybe a ShamWow.
Yes, absolutely, you are correct. There are always nice treats in there. I personally am looking for the saltwater taffy. That's one of my favorites.
Yeah, and it is. It's a nice, cool building. It also serves as the entryway for the Friday night wine tasting event that we host here.
That's a big deal. You know, the commercial wine industry up here in the Shenandoah Valley and Amador County is just outstanding. It's becoming well known throughout the nation and the world as for the award-winning wines. And you can see and taste those wines right here Friday night at the Wine Grape Growers wine tasting event here Friday night.
You can certainly purchase tickets in advance for that event, and I would encourage you to do so because I believe that the event sells out. Frank, do you attend that every year?
Yes, I do. It's one of my wife's favorites, and it does sell out. So I would encourage anyone that wants to attend to make sure you get your ticket early. There's a couple other events that every single year sell out, and that's one of them. So if you want to attend that event, it's a wonderful event, and I would encourage you to do so, but make sure you get your tickets early.
The backdrop for the wine tasting event is you can hear from this location the old engines, and I think we're going to take a walk over there and look around and talk a little bit about that particular part of our fair.
Let's go do it.
On our way over to visit the old engine area, we couldn't help but stop here in front of the beautiful pond that we have on the grounds. I'm not sure that everybody really appreciates this area or gets back here as much as they should, but there's a couple special things about that pond.
Well, this area is really neat, and unfortunately it does. A lot of people that come to the fair don't see it. They get caught up in the midway. They just head back down there. This is actually a place that I always come to. It's cooler here. As you can see, we're in the shade right now, and we have the koi pond here. There's a little running water, so it's nice and quiet and serene. The big koi swimming around there. Then, of course, we have the shade gardens over here, which I always like to come and look at. Like I said, it's always just a little bit cooler. Then right behind us, the Floriculture and Gems and Mineral Building, and which is another cool place. There's one of the cool places that you can get a little respite from the heat in the fair, and it's kind of nice to break that up, and always wonderful exhibits in there. And this is just kind of a offshoot area, if you will, that maybe people don't get a chance to come by and see, and I would encourage you because it's just part of all of the experience and the ambiance that our fair has to offer.
Troy, Frank mentioned the shade gardens here. The shade gardens here are actually put in by volunteers as well, correct?
Yeah, this is another community effort. The people come out here, different clubs and organizations come out here to help support. It's competitive as well, so people can earn a little bit of cash for their community club, their projects, or whatever their interest is. This is a great opportunity for 4-H. We have the Rotary has a booth out here. A lot of different groups have their showcase their work out here.
Yeah, it's really a wonderful area. I know the 4-H group, my 4-H kids have a garden out here that they plant, and they have to work on a couple weeks up to fair. Connie Mason, you'll always find Connie Mason out here. Probably find her out here during fair. She works on one of these beautiful shade gardens as well, and you have FFA, all these wonderful groups out here. So really, come out and visit this area of the fair. There's a lovely bench behind us that was put there in memory of Evelyn Bishop, a nice little spot to sit and enjoy a corn dog and a cold beer.
Absolutely. Back in 1994, by the way, in honor of all that she did for 4-H back in the years. The 4-H All-Stars, I believe, put that in her memory.
Yeah, she was a wonderful person, another one of those members of our community that really made this fair happen.
So this area also has a dual use. It's a year-round. We're a year-round facility, and it's a lot of weddings occur out here, parties, company picnics, those kind of things. It's just a great site for the community to use year-round.
Company picnics out here would be fantastic.
Wouldn't that be nice? Yeah, get the little barbecue going, and we have a lot of those out here, and various. One of the ones that I like is the Cooperative Extension does their wine seminar out here, and a little barbecue and wine tasting. So it's just a nice place to come and gather and do some business.
I don't think people naturally think about the fair being a year-round event location, but you could have baby showers here, and you could have all kinds of fantastic things, just like you said here. So, yeah, we should be doing a preview of the fair, you know, in December.
Year-round events. Yes, absolutely.
Exactly. Well, you know, we don't have old engines to look at, but we're going to walk over in that direction and maybe take in a gold mine.
There you go. Okay, well, this brings us over to what I consider probably the most unique area in our fairgrounds. These three exhibits here are exhibits that I don't believe that you will find anywhere at any fair, and not just in the state of California. All three of these exhibits here are just all special, dedicated to people who have worked a lot of hours to make these possible. Right behind us is our gold mine. This is actually a working gold mine with a stamp mill. Kids can come and pan for gold here. This was dedicated in the name of Tom Garamendi back in 2006, the preservation for mining, which everybody knows that Amador County was very famous for, with all of the mines. I believe more gold taken out of Amador County than any other place in the state of California. That's how productive these mines were. And there was a mining camp right here in Plymouth back when it was called Pokerville, I believe. That's where it started. And matter of fact, one of the Fairfax that I heard on the radio about Pokerville and how it be named Plymouth, and then there was a Puckerville. Anyway, we won't go through all that story, but anyway, so the gold mine here, which really brings back some of the history of Amador County. Then right over next to it, and these fences will all be down, folks, and it's a beautiful area, is our sawmill, and that'll be a working sawmill. You can come and see them cut logs, lumber that is used on the fairgrounds, that come out of that mill that they cut during the fair. Bill Braun and his crew have just worked tirelessly to continue to make that happen with that old equipment, and see how it was done back before we had all these fancy machines.
It's actually really exciting to watch that sawmill operating as well, because I don't know, it feels like there's an element of danger involved. This is clearly the most masculine part of our fairgrounds out here. The gold mine, the old engines, the sawmill. I would encourage all new brides to come out here, be a good wife, and spend a good hour or two in this section of the fair. Your husband will really appreciate it.
And but one of the special things when that sawmill's going, there is nothing like the smell of fresh cut.
You're watching Amador County's local television network, TSPN. And now back to Amador This Week.
Cut pine. I'm telling you, huh?
Yeah, it's pretty fantastic, and they blow a whistle too, and that whistle is, it's exciting. The whole thing is actually quite exciting, and I'm not sure if people really get that part of it unless they come and see for themselves.
No, it really is a big deal, and you talk about the brides, and Dad is really going to appreciate this, but if you have an appreciation for the history of California, you're going to see it on display right here. And I think we're talking about from the Native Americans, the Miwok village over there, the whole story of California and how it developed into the great agricultural powerhouse that it is. That story is alive and real right here. When the antique engines come out, you'll see antique almond hullers, walnut hullers, a lot of the pumps and the machinery that they used to develop the San Joaquin Valley and the agriculture there. All that came from the funding from the gold that was what they discovered here in Amador County, and it really helped build the agricultural base here in California. So it's on display. It's the real thing. It's volunteers doing it, and it's real.
You mentioned Bill Braun, Frank. Also, there's some woolens that are involved in these projects back here, and I know that the old engine section is dedicated to John Manacero. So there's a lot of people here that have made this section of our fair really special.
And this is also where all of the tractors, the old tractors that they do their parade a couple times a day, they all start back here. And I know when we did when Halvorson was here and we did that show on the fair, this was one of his favorite sections because of just all about California. That was he about, right? And that's what his shows were about, is the history of California. And as Troy just mentioned, that's what this area is. From the Indian village to the gold mines to the sawmill to the steam engines to the old tractors. That's what California was all about.
It's really a complete history of California in like 3 acres.
Absolutely.
Perfect. Yeah, come and see this section at the fair. So a short little jaunt from the sawmill, and we find ourselves here in front of Miwok Village. And actually, Frank, I'd love for you to talk about this because I know you had a great relationship with Margaret Dalton, and were certainly active on the board when this became a reality.
Well, this is a great area, another cultural area that kind of brings everybody back to some of the roots of Amador County. But this had evolved over a number of years. It started out very, very small, where there were some representatives from the Indian community within Amador County, and they set up tables, and the kids could come and make beads, and they'd be doing baskets and different things, and they kept adding to it and adding to it and adding to it. And what you have now is all the materials that you see around here that they planted are all materials that they used. back before we had a store to go to and buy all these things, they utilized these. So all of the materials that they planted around here, they used them for their basket weavings. They used them for their food processing, whatever the case may be. This is it's not complete, but it's kind of a simulation of what they used to call their roundhouse. Okay, and so inside of this during the fair, it's a nice shading area. That's where they'll be doing their demonstrations, and they'll have people just weaving these beautiful baskets. And I mean, you can't even imagine that you could weave these things by hand and make them that actually tight to hold stuff, to hold water, whatever the case may be. Kids can make bracelets. They have different activities for them here. It's a nice little respite for mom and dad, and the kids have something to do that's kind of out of the sun than running up and down eating hot dogs and candy corn or candy apples or whatever the case may be. So it's a real nice place here, and the Indian community have really gotten together and made this area what it is, and it's again another one of those special areas for us. And Margaret Dalton was a very, very good friend of mine, and she's just done a lot for the fair, the whole Dalton family and the Rancheria.
A quick little tip, you just touched on it, to parents: bring your kids in through the back gate. This was when I was, just really kind of attending fair with young children. I would come in through the barns, come back through the Miwok Village, go down through the sawmill, all those areas. Before my kids even laid eyes on a carnival ride, they had been exposed to all this amazing stuff that the Amador County Fair has to offer.
Well, because they want to get to the whistles and the noise and the lights and the corn dogs and the cotton candy and everything. So yeah, that's a great idea. And right away they get excited because they see the animals, and what kids don't like animals, right? So they come right through the barns and they see all the animals and the 4-Hers and FFA kids working with them and this and that, and it can swing right through there. So yeah, that's a great idea, Jamie.
Yeah, it's a good tip, and you can park out back. And Frank mentioned bringing your kids here and letting them make some bracelets and stuff. A little nice area for some parents to relax. Also conveniently close to the Rotary Wine booth.
The Amador County Fair is the place for kids, and kids of all ages. And we have our 49er Kids Town just right over the street next door, and that's a place we'll have the Jumbo Shrimp Circus will entertain, and they're teaching kids circus skills, juggling and tightrope walking, and all free activities. We made a lot of shaded areas so mom could kind of relax and let the kids be kids for a bit, all free. And we have Hammock Hill right up adjacent to there, so Dad can take a little moment on a chaise lounge and relax, and Mom can keep an eye on everybody. So it's just
keep an eye on Dad and everyone else. We should mention, I did mention that the Rotary Wine booth was here behind us, but we're actually standing now on the Blue Moon Picnic Hill section of our fairgrounds. Great big shout out to them, Blue Moon, makers of a fabulous little beer I like to have with a slice of orange in it, for sponsoring this section of the fair this year. We're so dependent on our sponsors. They're very special to us. And I know that there's some fantastic music that's going to be held here on the stage. Personally, I'm a fan of the Spasmatics that are going to be here on Friday night.
Those guys are wild. Nerds Gone Wild. That'll be Friday night. Spasmatics. We open up on Thursday with Money Band. That's sponsored by Ray Ryan Vineyards. It's generous. Bring those excellent group in from Monterey area. So Money Band, Spasmatics, and then we have Herrick. This is an act that you're going to be able to say, I saw them win. And it's a young woman, and she is hot. Country band, and it's just smoking entertainment. And then we have our blues night on Sunday with Max Cabela Jr. So right here on the Blue Moon Picnic Hill stage.
That's a fantastic lineup.
Absolutely. And when Troy's talking about Herrick, county fairs are where a lot of big name groups got their start, traveling the fair circuit. That's how they first got known. And this is a group that, as Troy said, you could see in Nashville maybe in a few years. But so you don't want to miss them. Great country music.
I saw Rascal Flat at the Calaveras County Fair before they were big, and I remember that, thinking that was fantastic. The reason I love the Spasmatics so much, I did not actually see them perform, but my kids, all the teenagers that are in and around my camp, came to that, loved it, and they came back to the camp trailer that night just so jazzed about that. And I felt it was special because sometimes we have great music out here for our generation, and we got a lot of stuff our generation, and we got a lot of stuff for little kids, right? It was great to see the teenagers enjoy that performance so much. So if you have teenagers at home, encourage them to come out and see the Spasmatics on Friday night as well.
Absolutely, on the Blue Moon Pick to Kill stage.
If you're just tuning in, we're doing the 2013 Amador County Fair preview with TSPN TV, and we've made our way around the fairgrounds, and we've wound up here in front of the Fur and Feather building. I would be remiss if I didn't mention the beautiful plaque that's behind us, though, that was put up to recognize the members of our Fair Foundation. Fair Foundation is actually pretty new, and I think it's important to let people know what the Fair Foundation is all about.
Yeah, it was created in 2008. It's our 501c3. It's the fundraising arm of the Amador County Fair as we work to discover our new normal now that state funding has been taken away. The foundation has become a very important part of our success here. They have taken on as their mission to do a lot of the infrastructure issues that we have here. We have a pretty old facility, and the foundation has worked hard and funded a lot of the repairs that we've done, particularly in the Benny Brown Arena, the new view stand that they've installed over there, and there's several other projects that they've done. The Frontier Town, they put a lot of work in there to make sure that it's pristine and safe for our fairgoers to go to. So just a hard-working group from the community, over a couple hundred strong, I think, right now. And
yeah, and the plaque behind us has a couple hundred people there that were charter members of that organization. It's a fundraising organization. I know they have a Baxter Black concert coming up, or a Baxter Black event. Maybe we don't call it a concert. The Great Cowboy Poet. Okay. So that's coming up as one of their fundraisers. You can find information about the foundation on the Amador County Fair's website, amadorcountyfair.com. Please get involved. I mean, this fair is a treasure. Troy mentioned we have to do a lot of infrastructure work right now. We're celebrating 75 years, but you know what 75 years means, right? This stuff's getting old.
Absolutely, and this is truly, you know, we're able to continue to do this for a couple different reasons. One, obviously, because of our hardworking staff, but probably more importantly, it's a community effort, and it's through volunteers. It's through people that really believe that this is something special that we have here in the county, and through their collective efforts, they make sure that we're going to be able to continue to provide this for generations to come. We've been through 75 years, and we're going to make it another 75 with the continued community support that we receive.
Oh, I believe that wholeheartedly. I tell people that all the time. You know, fairs have lost funding, and there are communities that will lose their fair, but Amador County will not be one of those communities. I think we'll have a fair here for as long as there are people in this community. There's so many that love it so much and give so much to it. We should talk about Fur and Feathers.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna get emotional talking
Real
about
quick.
our fair.
Okay.
The Fur and Feathers building. I had a young man show chickens. The chicken judging is potentially my favorite thing at the Amador County Fair, and there's a lot to love here. I'm not even making that up. Chicken judging, spectacular.
Well, I have had my opportunity to see chicken judging also, because my two older daughters had horses, and my youngest daughter was deathly afraid of horses. But she wanted to do something, so she had chickens. So I, for the first time several years ago, got to see chicken judging, and it's something that I never could have dreamed of.
It's Americana at its best. The chicken judging is really, I mean, because they're primary members, so they're the little guys, and they got their perfect braids and their perfect hair, and they got their little chicken, and they have to walk their chicken around with a stick.
With their little stick.
And then they have to pick the chicken up, show the chicken's butt to the judge. It's the best.
Yep, you got to turn it over and showcase the breast and all the features of the chicken, and the judge will ask you questions, and then
You're watching Amador County's local television network, TSPN. And now back to Amador This Week.
And the judge will ask you questions, and then they walk the chicken across the table with their little stick and make sure the chicken has perfect posture, and it's quite interesting.
I was completely unprepared for it the first year, and we were getting ready to bring the chickens down, and the chicken leader called and asked if we'd washed our chickens, and that was our first clue that washing our chickens. And then we had to walk it with the stick, and I was like, gosh, we did not bring our circus chicken. I totally did not. I was not really realizing how kind of And it's perfect. It's a great start for showmanship for these kids.
Well, you know, that's our purpose. We were created back in really when California became a state in 1850. They created these fairs with three ideas in mind. One, to do create a market where people can exchange ideas. They also wanted to develop agriculture through competition, make a lab so that people could come in and test best practices. And they also wanted to recruit young people for agriculture, and this is part of what's going on here. This is preparing people for the future, and beyond agriculture too. And I really believe that these kids that are here are going to be our next leaders. They're the ones that are going to be in the boardrooms. They're the next ones that are going to be the business people of the future. This is where it happens right here. We grow leaders out here at the Amador County Fair.
Yeah, I wasn't kidding. Fern feather building, chicken judging, one of my favorite things here at the fair. Please come down and witness it. I think chicken judging's on Thursday. Turkeys, there's rabbits, there's all kinds of things in here besides chickens, and the chickens are just amazing, so come visit them. And that building right there used to be Ray Miller's shop. Yeah. And Ray Miller knew that they were having a hard time keeping the chickens and the rabbits cool, I think, in the barns, and so they turned that into the Fern feather building. How many years ago?
Oh boy, dozen? 15 maybe, because I remember when the fur and feathers were over on the end of the bee barn, I believe, in like the last 4 stalls there, and trying to keep them cool in there was always a challenge. So yeah, the shop has now moved, like I think it's on its 3rd location since I had been here, in the back now where it should be, but that was Ray Miller's stomping ground for a long time.
Yeah, Ray Miller was a pretty cool guy, and we certainly like to remember him when we visit the Fur and Feathers building.
All right, let's head over to the barns.
Okay. So we find ourselves now down at the livestock barns. There's a lot of action happens down here at the livestock barns. I just did an interview with Mary Cowan about the first few Amador County fairs, and we asked her what she thought was one of the most remarkable things that she ever accomplished. And she said, getting all those kids and all their animals to that fair and keeping them white. And that has not changed over the last 4 generations.
Well, it has it, and there's a lot of things that go on. Let's have a seat.
Okay, we'll have a seat and chat about it. We're sitting here on a bench that was dedicated to Nancy Hawkins. Yeah. Nancy Hawkins has certainly raised some kids down here in these barns, and she's also really responsible for our flowers. We go back to the flower beds again when we talk about Nancy Hawkins. But we're going to talk a little bit about 4-H kids, FFA kids, livestock barns. Frank, you've had several kids come down through this area of the fair. It's special.
Yeah, it really is. You know what's really special for me every year? I've been coming to this fair now for 30 years. I've been on the board for 21 years. And what I have seen over that time is generations come through this barn. The people that were the leaders that were working that years ago when I first came, then I saw their kids coming through, and now they're the leaders. They went from showing to being the leaders, and now their kids are coming through and showing. And I think that's really special. And again, it's because there's people that really believe in what goes on at the fair, what goes on at the barns. And there's so many life lessons that are learned there. And I don't mean to sound cliche-ish at all, because there's responsibility, and there are decisions, and you have to time management and leadership, and there's just so many things. And when you're involved in showmanship, and when you're being judged, and proper way to talk to adults, and there's just so many things that come out of what these kids are doing here. And it's not just about the animals, it's not just about the auction on Sunday, it's everything else that comes into making that happen. The auction is just the finality to it, but it's just really neat for me to watch over the years, the part of it that I really enjoy.
You know, there's all those lessons and responsibility and all those things that you touched on, but there's also success and failure out here, and those are big lessons too. And important ones. I mean, these kids that come into these barns sometimes, I mean, there's all number of things that can go very well. There are sometimes, you know, your animals don't make weight. You have, you know, just certain things that happen. And I think that for the kids, it's an important lesson, and the first time they really learn a lesson about community is that livestock auction. Those kids hit that ring, and they look out there, and there's the entire business community of Amador County supporting them, and my kids will tell you it's overwhelming.
Yeah. I get a little emotional talking about it, actually, because it is that special.
Yeah, you and I both, and Chuck Simmons, I was doing an interview with Chuck Simmons recently, and he was talking about his favorite thing at fairs, favorite day of fair, and he said, my favorite day of fair is Wednesday. I love Wednesday. I love all the parents down there trying to put the decorations up in the livestock barns, of all the kids and all the commotion and all the anticipation and the culmination of so much hard work. And he said the world would be a better place if kids just got to grow up on Wednesday night at the Amador County Fair, because their parents are here and these people all believe in them, and it's an exciting time. And when he was telling us about this, I started crying. Yeah. And the reason I started crying is if you ask my daughter what her favorite thing about fair is, she'll tell you Wednesday night.
It's a big deal. It's an important part of life here in Amador County, and it's an important part of life in any rural community. This is a time when everybody comes together, generations come together, and it has been generations over these 75 years that have contributed treasure, time, and talent to build this facility. We've had a wonderful partnership with the state of California through horse racing. That ended, but it still remains a community asset, a community event for generations. And we had our sponsorship dinner the other last Thursday night, and the kids, I don't know if you noticed, were wearing badges or name tags that had fourth generation exhibitor, third generation exhibitor, and we're going to ask all the kids this year to do that again during the fair, so that you have an idea of that continuous string of families that have built the Amador County Fair. We are the #1 small county fair because of the families here.
I did notice that at the dinner. It's pretty special. And you know, we should mention there's a lot of ways that people can get involved in the fair, and there's a lot of ways that youth can get involved in the fair. If you have a young person in your life that you think, has this amazing talent, and maybe you don't have land and you can't raise a hog, there are, we're going to visit Pokerville Hall and some other areas here. There are so many ways that you can get your kids involved in this fair, and kind of give them the love of agriculture, which is really important right now with the obesity statistics and all the crap kids are eating and everything else. Fairs really actually they can help on so many levels, give these life lessons.
Yeah, and as you say, and we'll visit some other exhibits, but it's not all about the animals. The animals are cool, and they're a big part of it, and especially in a rural community like Amador County. But whether you like to take pictures, or whether you like to draw, or whether you like to bake, or can, or sew, or knit, or there's just lots of different opportunities for kids to get involved, and it starts building some of those things that we talk about regardless of what you're entering. And so we'll talk about that a little bit as we go down, but there's an opportunity for everybody to be involved, because this fair is your fair. Everybody in this community, that's what it's about, and you can be involved as much or as little as you choose, and we encourage everybody to be involved.
I mentioned the Fur and Feather building was one of my favorite places. The wine booth, clearly one of my favorite places. I think we're sitting here in front of one of Frank Halvorson's favorite places.
The Lions Beer Booth, is that what you're talking about? Gosh darn, absolutely. On Cattleman's Day, one of my favorite days of the fair, when all the local ranchers and cowboys come together and they compete for different events in there. This is the social spot on the fairgrounds that if you haven't seen people for a long time, maybe you see them once a year out here at Cattleman's Day. A lot of generational families that have been ranching in this community for a long time, a lot of old friends, and it all happens right around here. So you can definitely find me here on Saturday.
Let's go visit the arena. So we're going to transition here from the Lions Beer Booth right over to the arena. Frank was talking about Cattleman's Day, loves Cattleman's Day out here. I do as well, and I actually like to bring the kids out. The kids know Saturday morning they get a big, fat windmill breakfast, and we sit here with our biscuits and gravy on our lap and everything, and we watch the local cattlemen's event, and they're really special.
Yeah, they really are. As I talked about earlier, it's just a great time to see a lot of the local ranchers, and there again, I've seen generations of families come through and participate in these Cattlemen's Day, whether it be the pinning or what have you, and it's just a lot of fun. And my most fond memory about Cattlemen's Day is years ago when we used to run a Calcutta at Cattlemen's Day. You might remember that, Jamie. You would have been very young. And Harriet Jock was big in the Calcutta, and John Andreas, and we'd run around and people would bidding on teams and whatever, and it was a lot of fun. And we got that shut down by the state for gambling on state property, but it's still one of my better memories.
It was pretty fantastic while it lasted. We should add here that the Cattlemen's, the local events that we're doing here on Saturday morning now have a special prize, right? They're competing for something special this year.
Yeah, thanks to Seth Seaver, who came to the board and kind of saw the events kind of dying off as far as participation and the number of teams that came in, back to what he was used to when he was a young lad and his family was competing in this, and trying to bring that back. And so they have made it more competitive, and we've kind of hooked up with our neighboring county, Calaveras County, and Tuolumne, and you get points for participating in these different things. For a saddle, I believe, is the grand prize for the champion, to try to encourage some more participation like it used to be. Like anything else, you know, the ranchers and whatever that compete, they do these things on a regular basis.
You're watching Amador County's local television network, TSPN. And now back to Amador This Week.
And now they get to come in to compete, and they like to compete too. And so we're trying to, through Seth's efforts, we're trying to bring that back and create a little more competition, a little more reasons for these people to get up early in the morning and load up their horses and come over here. And because there are entry fees involved, and so basically we're trying to build the reward up a little bit, other than just, you know, getting to come out and compete a little bit. And I think it's going to be really successful. And so this is the first year that he started this, and I think it'll only build and get stronger. So I really anticipate Saturday to be a great day.
I think it's the Benny Brown Memorial Saddle that I've seen the saddle. It's very beautiful. And Seth with Double S Auction Company, he was very passionate when he came to the board and talked about it. Yeah, it's a generational thing, and wanting to make sure that these things continue on. I have a 10-year-old son that is learning to rope and do all these things, and he is thrilled because he thinks he's going to be in the two-man cattle penning.
All right, that's a big deal out here. I'm telling you, this arena is thoroughly used throughout the entire fair. Horse shows, English, Western, Trail. Then we have our Ranch Versatility. Then we have our Saturday ranch events. This is one happening facility right here.
And the mutton busting is now happening on its own night here, correct?
Mutton busting opening night Thursday at 6:30. Come out and watch these little kids. We strap a helmet on them, and they hang on to a sheep for as long as they can, and the winner gets to move on to the finals at the CCPRA rodeo on Saturday night. It's also a big deal. So the top 10 kids from Thursday night will move on and compete for the big buckle, for the big prize on Saturday night. So we also have mutton busting, of course, Thursday night. Friday night is our hot rod truck and tractor pulls out here. Big noise, big smoke, a lot of dust. Everybody, a lot of locals bring their four wheels out here and pull it, and just a big event. And then, of course, Saturday night is the CCPR rodeo comes out here. Nice event. Tickets are on sale right now. This is another one. I recommend you get your tickets early at AmadorCountyFair.com.
And then Sunday, more smoke, more noise. Oh, the Destruction Derby. The Destruction Derby is scary exciting.
Amador County loves their Destruction Derby, and if you want a Derby ticket, buy it early, because I can guarantee you that will be sold out. So if you want to attend the Derby, it is a wild, wild event, I'll tell you that. And these guys that participate in this, they take this extremely seriously. This is not a game. This is serious business, and they spend hours and hours and hours on these machines. They've got pit crews, and they come out of their heats, and they're banging and cutting and trying to get these things ready to come back in for the hard luck heat or make it back to the next one, and they're bending metal, and there's stuff going on. It is pretty exciting event.
It is, and I have to say I spotted my first derby car in the community being worked on this year, 1st of March.
Yeah.
Someone had pulled up a car on their front lawn, and they were clearly starting to work on their derby car in March. I'm not sure how much their neighbors appreciated that, but I thought, boy, I could already start counting down the days to fair.
It is a big deal, and just to transform this arena from horse activities to the derby it's a major deal. We have to pull out all this sand here. We bring in giant logs. We make what basically is a giant mud pit out here for these guys, and that all happens within a couple hours after our final horse show goes here in the arena. So it's a big deal.
You mentioned buying tickets in advance for these events. We should mention that yes, the derby, the rodeo, truck and tractors pulls you need tickets for, but the other events here in the arena, are they free?
Yeah, everything here is free. You got to pay through the gate, $10, and you can get discount tickets at our website, AmadorCountyFair.com. But so many free activities here. The bands are all free. We've got over 36 different acts that we'll have here, not counting what goes on in these arenas, and it's all free.
Yeah, just like the Cattleman's Day. It'll cost you a windmill breakfast. If you come out here, you can't pass up the biscuits and gravy, but
you get
to
a lot for your buck right here. There's a lot of entertainment, a lot of things going on. One thing that I failed to mention about the Derby, we certainly want to mention the Jackson Rotary Club, because the Jackson Rotary Club took over running the Derby, I don't know how many years ago now, and they just do a terrific job, and it takes a lot of man hours and a lot of preparation, a lot of things to make that happen, and we certainly appreciate what the Jackson Rotary does in helping us with that event and them putting that on.
I'm going to also make sure that we mention, since we're standing here, the viewing stand where our announcers make all the rodeo announcements and everything else is actually brand new, and that was a foundation project. It was in some dire straits, and the foundation just made that happen recently.
They shined it up. It's all new. It's structurally well done. It's architecturally pleasing and represents what we used to have, and updated it a bit, and we're just so pleased with the foundation and just the whole support of the community for this facility. It's this is beyond the scope of just a few people. It takes a whole lot of people for this thing to go, and everybody steps up.
Well, we hope to see you one of the evenings, or all of the evenings and afternoons, here in the Benny Brown Arena. So we were talking there in the arena before we headed out this way about the sponsors, the new viewing stand, all the people that are really making the fair possible. We can't really talk about it enough, and we certainly can't talk about it without talking about the Jackson Rancheria.
The Jackson Rancheria has been the major sponsor of the Amador County Fair for probably more than 25 years. We're so grateful for their contribution to make this fair so successful, and to allow us the ability to keep this jewel that we have going. And every year they've stepped up, and they've really helped us out a lot.
They've certainly helped us out a lot when we lost state funding. Margaret Dalton, I think this fair was near and dear to her heart. Ralph Clark tells some really sweet stories about Margaret Dalton and her feelings about the fair. But the entire tribe now, even in her honor and in her memory, continue to support this fair. And we have a lovely memorial up front for her as well.
Yeah, we talk about generations at the fair. That's really the sponsorship of the Rancheria. It's become a generational thing. If you think it started with Margaret, and Margaret had a very special place in her heart for this fair, and it has continued through the family, with Bo, then with Adam, and now there's the third and the fourth generations, and the Dalton family and the Rancheria have continued to keep Margaret's dream of this fairground alive. And that's another generational thing, like we talked about, whether it be the ranching families or whether it be the families that have shown here in the livestock barns or the volunteers of all over the grounds. That's a generational thing. That's because this is that special to the people who have grown up here and know what this county is about, and the rancheria certainly continued to do that also.
So yeah, I mean, we couldn't be more thankful for their support. I'm going to tell you a generational story. We are standing where I got married, and when I was married here 18 years ago, we got married in my family, Grandpa Colburn's Fairgrounds. But we chose this location because we got married in front of my husband's grandfather's blacksmith shop.
Yes, yes, that's right. I didn't put that combination together.
So we have this interesting and generational thing in our family. You know, Grandpa, being one of the founders of the fair, received financial support to make the first fair happen from Martin Lebanko. I can't imagine that they ever thought that, you know, their families would marry and 4 generations would be standing here, you know, trying so hard to maintain and keep up what they had done and dreamed of for the Amador County Fair. But it's really special.
Yeah, it really, you know, you tell that story and you look back, your family, as well as your husband's family, how many generations now? I know that there are families over in the barn area, families that have married, 2 families together that went way back in the fair, and that's the type of thing that this community generates. That's what happens. That's why the feeling and the sense of difference that makes this happen, I think.
Yeah, no, and it's special, and this is a special area. I mean, beyond just family connections and things like that. This was Gula Waite's vision. I've heard an awful lot about Gula Waite recently, working on our anniversary stuff, and she would visit Disneyland and other areas and get paint colors to come back and build this frontier town.
Yeah, this is really remarkable. The vision that Gula Waite had back in the 60s, I think that she was probably the first female fair manager in the nation back in the 60s. And just to have the vision, and of course, she goes way back to with your grandfather, or, you know, had been involved with the fair, but she brought in all of these frontier town, all these buildings. They're real buildings back here. She collected from around the state and the county, and she had the vision with the front gate so that when people walked through, they would have a whole different kind of experience. And we owe a lot to her. We stand on the shoulders of giants, and there's a lot of them that we try to keep this thing together for.
If you want to hear some fantastic Gula Waite stories, find Dick Cooper at the fair and talk to Dick Cooper about Gula Waite, because he says that her vision and the way that she saw things and wanted things to be here was kind of beyond her time.
And Dick is a great storyteller. Anyone who's had the opportunity to just sit and listen to Dick talk about whatever it may be. I don't care whether it's methods of farming, whether it's about fixing a tractor, or whether it's about Gula and the fair. He's a wonderful storyteller. So, yeah, if you do see Dick, and he would be more than happy to share those stories with you. He's just a wonderful guy, a very generous man, and yeah, he's got a lot of wonderful stories.
Yeah, a former fair manager here as well had Troy's job at one time, and he talks an awful lot about Gula Waite, as did almost anybody that I've spoke to in the last couple weeks about the history of our fair. She was really a gem. And yeah, so Frontier Town, we have gunfights here, right?
Yeah. The mountain men are camping here, I believe, again this year. They set up their little campfire and their little tent, or teepee, I guess if you call it, and the gunfights are here. And we've gotten a lot better over the years to coordinate with the horse show when those guns go off. So we don't. The rodeo is until Saturday night, and we try not to make it on Thursday.
You're watching Amador County's local television network, TSPN. And now back to Amador This Week.
Make it on Thursday or Wednesday or whatever the case may be, so we've gotten better at that. Entertainment all around here. It's a nice place. We've got our food venues right here, so you can come and get a variety of different foods, sit in the shade, whatever the case may be. Here in Frontier Town, a lot of shade and a lot of places to sit and a lot of history.
Johnny, my son Johnny, lives for the shuck and cluck.
The shuck and cluck, right second window, I think.
Is the shucking cluck. I think that he can't find a decent chicken strip all year. But boy, he gets to the fair and he just lives on shucking cluck.
That's great. That's great. You know, and I got to go back to Gula Wade a little bit. And her sons, Eldon and Tom. Tom has worked tirelessly over there at the gold mine, keeping that thing going. And Eldon has contributed water to help us keep this fairgrounds green this year. So, you know, they're still involved. But you talk about the Kit Carson Mountain Men, you know, and I like to just say that, you know, just telling the history of California. It's all right here. The Kit Carson Mountain Men, the first white men to come to California to see California. This is the real deal, the frontier town. You know, if you want to get a history lesson without actually knowing it, this is the place to go right here.
So we're gonna move back down the Midway. Visit some of our other buildings here, and probably wind up at the carnival. You know, the carnival rides are up. Do you think we can actually get a ride?
If Kenny was around, I imagine we could talk him into it, but I think I'm going to pass.
We need a GoPro for this interview. We'll put the camera on our helmet and ride the zipper.
No, I was thinking of the Ring of Fire.
Next year.
Okay.
So we've made our way around the entire fairgrounds at this point, back to the Midway, and we're sitting here in front of Pokerville Hall, which where we house our art exhibits and our photography exhibits and things like that. Frank, have you ever entered art or photography here?
No, I have not. My daughter has. My youngest daughter has entered a photography, and it was almost by just kind of a fluke. She was up in the mountains with a friend, and they were fooling around taking pictures, and she laid down on the ground amongst these very tall trees and took this shot straight up through these trees with the sunlight coming through, and she actually won a blue ribbon. She was pretty impressed with it.
Nice. Well, we also have quilts here in Pokerville Hall and these beautiful windows that line the outside of Pokerville Hall. Troy, can you tell us a little bit about them?
You know, well, the windows are another big deal here at the fair, and you talk about competition. We have local businesses and community people who are keeping their best stuff under wraps because they don't want to put out their hot ideas until they get ready for competition. So everybody's watching all the other windows and seeing what they're doing and trying to match them, and it's they talk about it all year long about the competition. And of course we don't want to forget about the quilts. You see real America right there with those quilts, the stories that they tell. We have, I think, one of the better art shows in Amador County. All the local talent, which is superior, come out here and display their photos and their painting. And Preserved Foods is making a big comeback. The baking is making a big comeback. People are interested in that stuff now. And we have our berry pie competition as people are working on their recipes for that, and that's another big competitive event here that people talk about. And you know, the brownie competition is pretty serious too.
Brownie competition. You know, the culinary arts is really made a huge comeback with the Food Network and all of those types of events now. There's, you know, food competitions are televised, and we've had those happening here for 75 years at the county fair.
Well, but I think, you know, in some ways we're kind of going back to how things used to be, you know, with all the farmers markets, and people talk about all the fast food and all the preservatives, and you touched on that a little earlier with the diabetics and obesity and all those kind of things, that there's a lot more people getting involved in, let's try to do it a little different. And I think the farmers markets that are here in the county, I think we have 3 or 4 of them, I believe, Plymouth, Sutter Creek, Jackson, and Pine Grove. And I think the baking and the preserves and the canning and all that kind of stuff is kind of seems to be a lot bigger than maybe it used to. And there's so many different cooking channels now on the networks, and I think a lot of those entries we see that in the fair too.
You know, if there was a Food Network 20, 30 years ago, Audrey Souza would have a show.
She certainly would, and she's been so involved with fairs all over the state, and she comes out and helps us every year. She donates her time to judge the preserved foods and a lot of the other things. And you know, we talk about the farmers market. We do have a Farms of Amador exhibit over in front of the main exhibit hall each year, where you can see what they're doing with their bee production and a lot of different things, and our micro brew tasting over there on the weekends, Saturday and Sunday. And you'll be able to, we have a beer competition here every year, commercial beer and amateur beer, as well as our commercial and homemade wines. And you'll be able to taste the award-winning commercial beers Saturday and Sunday here in our Farms of Amador areas.
And you know, they also, you can enter your vegetables here.
You can enter your vegetables. It's all right here. You know, we have something for everybody. There's, it's just amazing, all the parts that come together for this fair.
Well, if you're under the age of 18, you actually have all of your things showcased in the building right next to Pokerville Hall, the Spur Emporium, or we call it the Youth Building. And the Spur Emporium really, when the kids entered their first couple drawings, it was really exciting to come here the first day of fair and go through and find your artwork and see whether or not you have a ribbon. A lot of hard work goes into displaying those things, doing justice to the artist and the kids and everyone that enters it. I mean, great volunteers, again, that do that. But the Spur Emporium is a pretty special little place.
Well, it's a great opportunity, as we talked about earlier. Everybody doesn't feel comfortable with raising animals, doesn't have room for animals, and as I've said before, I had my older daughters had animals, my son had animals, but my middle daughter, other than her chicken, she wanted to participate, but she wasn't into the animal thing. So we've had tomatoes and peppers and all kinds of different vegetables that she grew in the garden that have been entered there, and photography, and so there's so many different ways that everybody can get involved here, and it's great. And you're right, that first day you rush in to see how we did, and there's so much excitement, and they're little and they're so cute, and some of the drawings and stuff that youth come up with, you know, the old saying of out of the mouth of babes. Well, the creativity and the things that go through their mind that they're able to put on paper sometimes is just as amazing as those words.
I actually am following certain artists. Over the years, I've seen kids' artwork in there, and I thought, man, that kid's talented. And every year, I look forward to seeing whether or not those kids have entered something again. I mean, the first one that comes to mind right now for me is Matt Conrarty. Come down to this youth building, and there's so much amazing art in there. But that young man has developed, it feels like to me, as an artist right in front of our eyes here at the Amador County Fair.
Yeah, and there's some great role models that they've had in the county that these kids learn from, and it's what it's all about. It's just another part of it that sometimes maybe doesn't get talked about as much as the animals and that type of stuff, but it is just as important and just as significant to these kids to be able to be involved, to participate, to say that they competed at the fair regardless of what the venue is, and that gives everybody another opportunity.
Yeah, please visit these buildings. It's nice and cool inside too, so that's a plus.
You know, so much about this fair is for the kids. You know, a lot of people really discover what they want to do for the rest of their life from something that they were involved with here at the fair, whether it's the art or the cooking the tacos for the Rainbow Booth girls, or working the hamburger booth to support the wrestling team. Well, you know, so many things out here happen, and people really do discover what they want to do for the rest of their life and learn that craft here at the fair.
You know, and you just mentioned the booths and people raising money out here. The Amador County Fair is essentially 4 days. I sat through a scholarship night at the high school not too long ago, and I want to say it was 2-3 hours of community organizations handing out money, scholarships to kids in our community. And I kept thinking to myself, you know, that Lions Club made a lot of that money at the fair. And, you know, all these organizations that are raising money out here at the fair, they take that money and they turn around and they kind of disperse that money out into our community with these amazing projects throughout the year. So the 4 days here, your support at the fair really serves our community, you know, for much beyond the 4 days that they're here.
Oh, absolutely. These organizations, this is one of the largest fundraisers for most of them, or the largest fundraiser that they have all year long. And all the money that they're able to generate from this fair goes directly back to the community, and a lot of it in the way of scholarships for both of the high schools.
Speaking of scholarships, if we look across the way here, we're sitting in front of the Biaggi family stage, and that stage on Thursday night will light up with some lovely, lovely girls participating in the Miss Amador Scholarship Competition.
That's right. Thursday night, you know, we brought that back to Thursday night. 3 years ago maybe, we tried having that on a different evening so that the Queen and the court was in place prior to the fair started. The thought was they could help promote the fair going in, and we came back that it was just it was better as a part of the fair. And so Thursday night, the Miss Amador Scholarship Pageant will be in all of its glory, and that's a great way for the first evening to start. It's exciting for the girls. You talk about life lessons. The girls that participate in that, and you know, they don't just show up that night. People don't understand the work that they put in, the practice they put in to get ready for this, to really put on a very special event. And I know they've been working very hard at it for a long time, and I'm sure they're getting excited as we get closer to it.
I believe they are too, and I'm going to go out on a limb here, Troy. I think that the Miss Amador pageant is getting so popular again that we're going to have to move it back to the arena.
You know, that little area right there it's overflowing with people, and we have to put in more benches and more benches each year. So it's really you know, it's just a big part of what we do, you know, here at the Amador County Fair. And I'm so proud of the 7 young ladies, the 7 young women that we have competing this year and every year in the past. And it's a huge effort and accomplishment for everybody involved.
You're watching Amador County's local television network, TSPN. And now back to Amador This Week.
So on the Biaggi's stage, you'll find the Miss Amador pageant on Thursday, and then Friday, Saturday, and Sunday we have live music there?
Live music ongoing. We've got the Hills Brothers Band. Joni Mitchell will be doing her thing. There's so many different bands out there. It's ongoing, and it's just a whole lot of fun out there, and it's all free.
We have local bands that perform as well, correct?
Local bands, we try to work with primarily local bands just because the talent is so good here. Particularly down at the Budweiser stage at the far end by the livestock, you'll see a continuous bands there. So among the 36 acts that we do bring out here, I would say that probably 33 of them are local Amador County bands.
Nice, that's wonderful. Well, I'm going to take a little stroll over now and try to talk Frank into getting on the Ring of Fire.
Okay, let's go.
So we made our way over to Carnival Hill. I was going to try to get Frank on the Ring of Fire, but the carnival rides aren't quite running yet. They're up, but not running.
Boy, just made it. Good for me, huh?
Yeah, I don't know if I was up for the Ring of Fire this morning either. So the carnival here, Kenny Johnson provides this carnival for us every year.
Carnival of Fun, you know, they've been here, nobody really knows for sure, but more than 40 years as our carnival operator here, and just has a great reputation in the community and in the industry of carnivals. And his equipment is known to be very safe and durable, and we inspect all these things right before they open up every year and make sure everything is right and tight, and it's a good show.
And you know, there's rides out here for little ones, so you can ride, you know, the carousel and the fun little you know, the teacups and things like that. And then there's some exciting rides.
Got the Gravitron. That's one of Kenny's favorites. He was a part of the team that initiated it, that first created, probably 30 years ago, as time flies. But great opportunity, and you can get your carnival wristbands online. Save some money for get a wristband for $21 and ride all day from noon to 7 p.m.
And if you come out here, I know that there are these lovely benches with umbrellas over the top. So when your kids are on the rides, you can sit there and enjoy some shade.
Always a place for mom to relax and enjoy and just kind of take it easy, because it is a long day here at the fair. And a lot of people come out here on Thursday and they don't go home until Sunday. So we like to provide a lot of opportunities for them to rest up and stay fresh for the whole fair.
And you can win things out here. Frank, have you ever won anything in the carnival?
Yes, I have. It's been a long time. I usually don't, I'm not much of a carnival game player anymore, but I've told this story before. My first experience with the Amador County Fair was back in 1972 when I brought my girlfriend here. And you can't go to a carnival without winning your girlfriend a stuffed animal or something, right? I don't know how much it cost me. Probably a lot more than it cost others, but I probably could have bought 20 of them. But anyway, yeah, I did.
Well, you have a son. You have a son that's a solid baseball player. So maybe he'll come out here and live up to that family tradition this year. Win his girlfriend something. I think there's the games where you hit the bottles over with the baseball.
Yeah, or you can always win flush, the fish.
Oh yeah, not.
Well, what happens to them in 24 hours? So every time somebody wins a fish at the carnival, I always name it flush because you're in 24 hours. That's what you're going to be doing, flushing it. Because it doesn't survive the hot water, carrying it around in the Amador County Fair. Very good.
We put our fish in the koi pond. Are we supposed to do that?
Probably not, but we'll look the other way. There's a lot of other fish in there too. There's some carp and there's a variety of critters in there.
So Troy mentioned you can buy carnival tickets. You can buy carnival tickets in advance. You can buy wristbands in advance. There's some ways to save some money on carnival rides. And the best way to get some free carnival rides is to participate in the Boombox Parade on Thursday morning.
What a great segue, Jamie. See, you're good. Absolutely. The fair starts off with what initially was called the Boombox Parade when it first started. And Robert Manacero, one of our directors, has continued to head that up every year. Starts down in front of City Hall. Kids come in all kind of themed costumes, and then the parade gets led in with the Queen and her court, and we usually have a fire engine and different folks, and they walk in through the back gate and down through the midway. Then we give out awards for best costumes, best groups, individuals, and different age groups, and then they get the free carnival tickets for participating, as well as free admission to the fair for participating.
Right, and they have the Boy Scouts here. They do a flag ceremony every year, the national anthem. It's quite the pomp and circumstance. Is that the correct way to say it? Starting off our fair here.
Yeah, the traditional. We do a ribbon cutting, usually a welcome. The city of Plymouth is a sponsor of that for us each year. Usually we get a little welcome by the mayor of the city. The supervisors are usually represented. The president of our fair board, Lori Forrester, will be welcoming people with the official ribbon cutting to the official start of the fair, national anthem, all the things for a great grand opening for a great event.
Yeah, it's a pretty special kickoff. So I'd like to say, if you're going to enter your kids in the Boombox Parade, this year's theme, we're really our 75th anniversary. So dress your kids up on anything historical, anything that kind of celebrates the last 75 years. I don't know exactly how they were dressing in 1938, but I'm sure there's so many creative mothers out there that are going to come up with some fantastic costumes for that parade. And we will see you here opening day of the 2013 fair, right over there on that main stage. We'll do a ribbon cutting. We'll welcome all of you. We can't wait to see you out here to celebrate our fair's 75th anniversary.
We open July 25th and run through the 28th. The fair opens at 9 a.m. every day and closes at 11 o'clock on Thursday and Sunday, and midnight on Friday and Saturday.
Frank, can we find you out here?
Absolutely. I'll be here. I'll come early, and I'll be here early and often. And I'm looking forward to a great 4 days.
We'll see you then.